Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you only on Grande's Graveyard. And tonight we pay homage to one of the best living filmmakers, in my opinion, probably the best living filmmaker alive today, the legendary Quentin Tarantino. We have a director spotlight where we will review not one, not two, but three Quentin Tarantino movies with absolutely no regrets. And I have one of my all-time favorite guests and one of my best buddies in the whole wide world to my left, my right, whatever the hokey pokey I want to do here.
I'm here.
He is the legendary Matteo Appendino.
Ciao, grande. Thank you for the invite. It was a pleasure. It was a privilege, and it was fun. So, and hi to the whole graveyard.
Absolutely, man. Dude, always great to have you on. Of course, last time you guys may have seen Matteo on the show, we did the Brian De Palma special, and Matteo and I had been corresponding, and we were like, you know what, maybe we'll make this a little bit of a series, you know, and we discuss a different filmmaker every time. And you initially said, I'd love to do Oliver Stone. And I was thinking, I was like, that would be a great one. So we were talking about it, and then Matteo one night reached out, the fateful night, and said, Grande, I was talking with the missus, and she said, why not do Quentin Tarantino? And I said, that's a great goddamn idea. So tonight on Grande's Graveyard, we're going to be talking about three Quentin Tarantino films. And the way it kind of worked out, right? The last time we had, I picked one, Matteo picked one, you guys picked one. So we did that again. I picked, of course, his first film, his debut, Reservoir Dogs from 1992. Matteo went with Inglourious Basterds from the year 2009 here. And then, of course, you, the fans, 44% of 352 votes went with this movie. Unexpected. Beat out Pulp Fiction, Death Proof, and Kill Bill. It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So we have three movies to talk about here tonight. I'm very excited to get to this. This is a really cool show. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, you're always welcome. Acres of Movies is in the house. Hello and thanks. Heart Stacy. Stacy, what's going on? Hope all is well with you. Stacy says, favorite 5 characters of Pulp Fiction. Wow. Do you want to take that?
I'll give 2, and then I, from top of my mind, Mr. Wolf and Jules. Probably the first 2 that comes to my mind. But, you know, as we are going to look, Quentin Tarantino and casting, man, they go hand in hand.
They really do. Yeah, it's really unmatched. He's, when it comes to casting, and almost all of these movies, and not even just the 3 we're covering, but all of them, they've just also perfectly cast, it feels like. There's really rare miscasting. Miss C's in the house. What time is it? It's QT time only on the Graveyard. Welcome, Miss C. Hope all's well with you. Ciao, Grande and Matteo. Hello to all my Graveyardian friends. Yes, absolutely. Hello to all the Graveyardians. So yeah, no, this is exciting. I'm ready to get this show on the road if you are. It all started in the year 1992. Now, granted, I know Quentin Tarantino had made like student films, like I guess My Best Friend's Birthday, and some short films, some amateur stuff, if you will. But the real debut was this movie right here that came out in the year 1992. It was kind of a cult hit at the time that kept getting re-released, and it was a big hit in the video stores. And of course, I'm referring to this movie, Reservoir Dogs. Yes, I got a brief plot synopsis. When a simple jewelry heist goes horribly wrong, the surviving criminals begin to suspect that one of them is a police informant. Tell me, man, do you remember first seeing this movie? What were your initial thoughts?
So I watched this movie first when I still was in Italy.
Okay.
And I wanted you to know that Quentin Tarantino, for me, it's like, I don't want to say a formative director, but all his movie came out when I was alive. Different than when we did the De Palma, because, you know, I just saw a few of them first view. When he came out, it was a big deal because, in my opinion, with Reservoir Dogs starts the genre of pulp that before was never done. I think it was a ride. I love that we can see the style of Tarantino starting with the first movie based on dialogue, pop culture, not pop culture references. Also non-linear storytelling, which I think it helps a lot in this movie, because without the non-linear storytelling, I think this movie would be very claustrophobic, because the majority of the scene are in a warehouse. So the flashback help us actually to get out of that environment. When it came out, it shocked me. My generation, when it came out in 1992, I don't want to say that in Italy it was treated like a snuff movie, but you could have not say, have you seen Reservoir Dogs? Don't say it too loud. People will judge you. Or like, there was a lot of swearing, a lot of inappropriate. I think for a debut, as we said, for other directors that we think are high in our rankings, John, people will dream to have the most mature movie of their career as a director as a debut, like Quentin Tarantino did.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And this was actually the first Tarantino film I saw myself. Now, I was a late bloomer on Tarantino, but I was blown away from first seeing this movie too. And the fact that it is such a low budget debut, right? I mean, this movie was made somewhere in an estimated $1.2 to $3 million. And even though, yeah, you're right, it's a very claustrophobic movie, most of it is in a warehouse aside from these occasional flashbacks, and it's a heist movie where we don't necessarily ever see the heist. We hear about it, they talk about it, but we never really see it go down. I guess that's the Quentin spin on it. Or it may have been a situation where we ran out of money, we couldn't film the heist. But even that, I mean, it's able to give this particular film its identity of its own, and I think Tarantino casts it perfectly, like we were saying in the intro, at how good at casting he is. I mean, look at everyone in this cast. Of course, legendary Harvey Keitel, who is just a legendary actor. Of course, you have character actors like Michael Madsen and Chris Penn, who are, I think they both steal this movie. Tim Roth, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, some really, really good character actors in here. And to me, the thing that always got me was the opening scene. It's the perfect hook of these guys sitting in a diner and Quentin Tarantino just kind of going around 360 as we're introduced to all these people, and how genuine this dialogue feels about them talking about not tipping a waitress versus should we or shouldn't we. I just love that opening scene, man. Do you have any thoughts on that opening scene? Because I think it's incredible.
I think it's great. It gets you in the mood right away. It helps that after that scene that there's a very catchy song, which is Little Green Bag, that with the titles as well. So that gets you in the groove for the movie as well. As I said, he invented a genre. This is it's going to become a Quentin Tarantino scene. Interaction between the protagonist, talking about things that we talk about in real life with friends, right? Friends or acquaintances, whatever. And also the way of talking is that way, right? So it gets us in the reality using fiction, which is something that in this movie, I think there's a metaphor that later on we can even talk about it. But I think it's great about tipping, about a song, about the meaning of that song, which, by the way, I want to answer to Quentin Tarantino and said, of course, you're right. Otherwise, instead of being like a virgin, the song would be I Am a Virgin. But that's just my thought about all that. Yes, I think that's a signature Tarantino scene that we will see for the rest of his work.
And really, it's the perfect trendsetter for so many other dialogue scenes that he goes on to have in his career. And I think it's the perfect way to open his career. And all the stuff, she didn't do anything special, this waitress. She only filled up my coffee 3 times. I'll tip her she does something special, real special. But what do you want her to do? Get on her knees and suck your dick? I was like, wow, crazy to say that. And, why do we tip these people but not the workers at McDonald's? They're serving you too. And a lot of interesting things. And I also think, I don't know if you ever got this vibe, but I do. I totally think it's very much foreshadowing these characters for the rest of the movie. If you notice, Mr. Pink is very much for himself, and he's thinking for himself, and that's really what the character is as the movie plays out. Mr. Blonde, and he goes, that foreshadows what he's about to do. Yeah. And if you notice, Mr. Orange, he's the one that rats out Mr. Pink for not throwing the tip. He goes, he didn't tip. And we certainly see that he might just be the rat.
And to add on that, Mr. Orange, at the end, he agrees with Mr. Pink and join him. He said that if he doesn't tip, he convinced me I'm not tipping as well. So he goes, before to rat it and then to be together. So That
Yeah.
makes absolute sense.
It's so brilliant, and I don't know if everyone picks up on that. I always thought, I was like, when the first time I saw it, the first few times I saw it, and I was like, holy shit, like this is totally foreshadowing the rest of it. And you're right, awesome soundtrack to open, and then we just kind of get, I think in a way, it's almost like a whodunit, where we get all these different perspectives and all these different characters, and of course, they're all named after colors, right? There's Mr. Pink, Mr. Orange, Mr. Blonde, Mr. White, Mr. Blue, and Mr. Brown, and it's like, I just thought that was such a creative way to do this. And now, of course, there are films similar, right? Like Ringo Lam made City on Fire in the late 80s. That's a very similar film. A lot of people have pointed. The Killing from Stanley Kubrick. But I think what a great way to start your career, to make a heist movie like this, very small, but show your positives, right? It's great dialogue, great acting, great music, and I also think it has great tension, which is another thing that kind of goes and follows him throughout his career. Now, I know we were talking about this, and we like the cast a lot. Who was the standout for you in this tremendous cast?
So it's hard to pick one.
Yes, it is.
Hard to pick one because all of them have their own character and their own backstory. For example, I had to rewatch it. Before rewatch it, I will tell you that for me, Michael Madsen steals the show. I think he does the psychopath, the outcast very well. He steals the show. A guy that in a torture scene sings and dances, it tells you already what kind of character it is. But I wanted to tell you that after rewatch, I want to give kudos to Tim Roth. I think that his performance in this movie, especially when we talk about Mr. Orange, he does a great job. And how he feels guilty at the end with Mr. White, because he feels guilty. He's like, these guys that stuck for me, and now I'm betraying him again. Like, it's betrayal on the betrayal. Like, it's the end is very Shakespearean, though.
Yeah, it is.
The end is it's Shakespeare meets Sergio Leone. That's how I see the standoff at the end in the warehouse between Eddie, Joe, Mr. White, and Mr. Orange. But John, I think Michael Madsen and Tim Roth are my favorite. One thing that I want to tell you is that Lawrence Tierney, at the end of the shooting, was aided by the entire cast equally. That's what I heard.
Really? Oh, wow. Yeah, I know he was notoriously hard
to work with.
Yeah, he's notoriously was not good to work with because he wouldn't listen and stuff like that. I do think Lawrence Tierney's fun in this movie. Mr. Blonde and Mr. Pink. Why can't I be Mr. Purple, man? Well, some other guy on some other job is Mr. Purple. You're Mr. Pink. He's just money in this. I thought he was a lot of fun, but yeah, no, I've heard that too. I've heard he was really hard to work with. I have a weird one. My favorite, ever since the first time I saw this, was Chris Penn as Nice Guy Eddie. I thought, may he rest in peace. I just think he's so much fun in this, man, as the son of Lawrence Tierney's character, fittingly enough. And there's just some great dialogue of him. He's driving around the car after he finds out that the heist went wrong. And I don't know who's got the loot. I don't know if anybody's got the loot. I don't know who's dead. I don't know who's alive. I don't know who's caught. I don't know who's not. And you think he's going to decide out of the fucking blue to rip me off? Like, he's electric in this, man. And it really...
that he's great is when there is a flashback and it's Mr. White, Eddie, Mr. Orange in the car, and they're talking about the differences between women of different ethnicity. Let's put in here for don't be censored.
Yeah, they keep talking. They're like, wait, was it Pam Grier? Was it Anne Francis?
Yeah, and they have, and this is why QT is great, man. It's a conversation that me and you will have, John, in a car together. You know what I mean? Like, it's a conversation that you have with your friends. So now with the phones, everybody is right. You know what I mean? Like they do right away. But back then in the car, and you discuss, you can have your opinion, and the other one will say a different thing. So I really love his style.
Me too. And I think that's the beauty of QT. Like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's he's a movie lover that makes movies for movie lovers. And all of his movies, not just Reservoir Dogs, but all of them, it seems like they're all in a way a love letter to cinema that you and I grew up watching, and people that will over time continue to grow up watching. And that's the beauty of it, right? Like we mentioned some heist films that, he definitely had some elements from, but again, this is his own thing. This is his spin on it. And there's so many, Kill Bill, it's his homage to, Japanese, and then Death Proof, it's exploitation, and each one of them kind of has their own kind of nod to films of yesteryear. So you really get that movie lover feel. And again, I love those conversations, right? And that's Pulp Fiction is basically an entire movie with those conversations pretty much throughout. But I agree with you. I think it has that nice organic feeling throughout this movie. And I always thought the chronology thing, playing with the chronology in this, really keeps it fresh. Now, this is, I think, by far the shortest Tarantino film, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. You're right. Maybe Death Proof could be the same length, maybe.
Yeah, Death Proof is in the ballpark of this, but I do think this is the shortest at 1 hour and 39 minutes. Really short watch, but again, it keeps the pace really good.
That's surprised as well. Like, for example, spoiler alert, I'm sorry, we're talking about this movie. So at the beginning, you have the entire movie that that Mr. Orange has been shot.
Yes.
Okay. And you think, by the cops. Like you're thinking in your head, immediately when I say shot, it's got shot by the cops for sure. Then we figure it out at the end of the movie that he got shot by a woman that he was trying to steal the car to. And she had a gun in her dashboard, right?
Yeah.
So, even these little details, it always gets you thinking, gets you guessing. It always keeps you on your toes. And, that I think it's a great thing about the whodunit. So you're telling me that Reservoir Dogs is a giallo then?
Now, Merzi thinks that. I know Merzi's here.
Maybe he does. But no, I'm just kidding. But I know exactly where you're coming from with the whodunit sentence. So I'm with you because we have to figure it out who's the rat.
Yes, and I think I always thought from the first time I saw it, I didn't suspect who it ended up being. And I liked, again, that they showed you who each one of these people were. It was almost like, okay, we'll give you a little piece of them, and then you can decide, right, who are red herrings and who is Mr. Orange, if you will, who's got the bloody hands. And there's so many iconic scenes in this. And of course, you mentioned that the Stuck in the Middle with You, with Michael Madsen. And, of course, a scene that I don't know if you know this, but apparently Wes Craven saw a screening of this. And during that scene, he got up and walked out. And his buddy that he was with said that he's like, you just walked out of a movie. Like, why? Did you not like it? And he said, no, it was really well done. He says, well, why did you walk out? He goes, well, I was so grossed out and it was so grotesque, the ear cutting. And it's funny because they really don't show it.
Yeah.
It's very much suggested.
Okay. So I have a question. That was one of my questions for you.
Sure.
Why do you think he cut off? Like, I didn't remember. I thought, like, sometimes you have this Mandela effect that you think you saw something, but you didn't. Same with the last time we talked about De Palma with the scene of the chainsaw in Scarface. And I forgot. I thought we were going to see the ear cut. Why do you think that Quentin Tarantino decided to do that? To get away from the gore?
It may, I think if you have to look at it as this was the first movie of his career. I think if this was made 20 years later, they would have showed that in cartoonish fashion. It would have been gory, just like the blood squibs in Django or the blood squibs in Bastards. Like it's almost cartoonish violence.
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill, absolutely. You have this cartoonish gore that you can almost taste coming off the screen, I thought it was so interesting here at the beginning to suggest the violence, right? Because so many other filmmakers before him did the same thing, right? Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we really don't see much violence.
Exactly.
But it's all suggested and it's all, we remember it, right? And the same thing with this movie right here. I think it was very smart to imply it. And when you see the aftermath of him not having an ear, that was enough for me. I was like, oh my God, that is fucking gross.
And also the screams in the meantime that the camera goes to the door of the...
Yeah, it pans over here. Which I thought was really smart. And I don't know, I thought that was a horrific scene. But again, to add that song, right, which is now you synonymize that song with that scene. I can't hear that song and not think of that guy getting his ear cut off.
Absolutely.
That's truly powerful, man. And of course, the classic, the throwbacks with Tim Roth preparing the anecdote, right, with the guy. And I thought that was great. What did you think of that?
So... So maybe I'm going too deep, okay? So I was watching and I was thinking like he's basically putting in like our fingers and said, look at this. So this is the power of storytelling. This is what I do. I'll show you what I do. This is what I do to make fiction reality. So that's the story. It's how you tell the story. You need to believe in the story. You have to have the one other people believe about the farce. So I think that is great. I love the shot of Tim Roth telling the story with the canine unit in the bathroom, looking at him telling the story to the other people. I think that's a great shot. It's also a great story, by the way, because the first time you see it, you laugh. There is also some humor in this movie that regularly you don't laugh about, but the movie is so pulp, so violent that sometimes even a hint of sarcasm, like when Joe gives the names, it makes you laugh, but there's nothing to laugh about. They're killing people, they're doing heists. It's the same with the power of the farts of Mr. Orange. So I think it was a great metaphor for the cinema that he does, that entire scene of Mr. Orange get undercovered.
Wholeheartedly am with you there. And I think it's like, you're right. Here we have all these protagonists that are these horrible murderers, right? But they're almost endearing in a way that, like, I would dare to say the characters in The Sopranos would go on to be. And of course, you do go on to see Steve Buscemi act and direct episodes of The Sopranos. So he fit in like a glove on that show. And I think that's a big reason why, is because he did this particular role here as Mr. Pink. These are horrible guys, right? But Harvey Keitel, I think, what I liked about him was there was a little bit of compassion there, right? He was a bad guy. You shoot me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize. Like, he has some great lines, but he also did care for Mr. Orange. You could tell throughout he's concerned about him, and he really doesn't like Mr. Blonde because screw you, maniac. You know, that I love his, you know, he kind of plays with the gray area a little bit. And I thought that was nice because the rest of them are all pretty.
Are you going to keep barking, little doggy, or you're going to bite? You know, that's yeah. And you know what? The costumes as well, I think it was a great idea to add. To don't have, you know, like the usual all in black with you know, like parka on top. And it goes great with the blood. So I think it was great to see that white shirt completely red at the end of the movie of Mr. Orange and Mr. White as well. And also, one thing that I noticed is that other than Mr. Orange, Mr. Blonde, all the characters that we see, like especially Mr. White. Mr. White is a bad, like, it's a bad person, but he's not. Like, at the end, he's a good guy.
Exactly.
But if you see, for example, one of the best dialogue of the movie that I really love, it's when is Mr. Orange and Mr. White being in the car and reciting what is going to happen in the heist. And he said, oh, if this happens, smash it in the face. If a bitch looks at you, look at her like she's going to be the next. Like, she said all that. And then at the end, he just drank a cigarette, said, I'm hungry. Let's get a taco. It's like this is normal, right? It's what I do.
This is a 9 to 5 for them. And I love that he even says, what about her? He goes, well, she's right here sitting on my dick. Like, I thought that was funny too. Like, I don't know. It's so organic. And I think this is like the perfect, I really do think this is the best starter fit. Like, if you've never seen a Quentin film, I would say start with this. It's not his best. I would say it's in my top 3, definitely my top 3. But man, I think it's like the perfect gateway to his world. It's not over long. It has most of the things that we go on, other than the over-the-top violence. There's violence, but definitely not near the levels of violence I think he gets to as we move on to his filmography. But to me, the thing about this movie that I love the most is the Mexican standoff at the end. Like that. Every time I watch it to this day, I get chills. And no matter how many times I've seen it, it's just so epic. Like, Lawrence Tierney comes in. Oh, what happened to Mr. Blue? Dead as Dillinger. And they have this whole stand-up. Stop pointing that gun at my fucking dad. You know, and this craziness into they're bleeding each other's arms, Mr. Orange and Mr. White. And it's I'm a cop. I'm sorry. And then you get him crying. The cops bust in. And then what other song to cut to then? Put the lime in the coconut as we go to. I was like, Bravo. Like this classic, man. Absolutely the perfect song to end it on.
Do you think Mr. Pink at the end get caught and killed, or he escapes?
I will tell you this. I always thought he got caught, but I read a theory that made me laugh so hard that I want to believe it. Someone has a theory that he escapes with the jewels and then hides undercover as the waiter in Pulp Fiction in the fucking with John Travolta.
I believe it too now. I believe it too.
Isn't that great? I was like, that is the perfect, like, I want to believe that this guy, Mr. Pink.
It is.
And then became a waiter, like full circle.
And also Quentin Tarantino said that actually there's two universes of Quentin Tarantino, and one of them is Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction together. He said that there are two different ones. One is more like violent and crime, and the other one is more farce, like Hateful Eight, like all the Once Upon a Time,
Sure. Yeah, no, and it's also worth mentioning that, of course, the real name of Mr. Blonde is Vic Vega, and then in Pulp Fiction it's Vincent Vega. So they're brothers, I guess, in this universe. Although I know they wanted Michael Madsen to play the John Travolta role in Pulp Fiction, but he had probably the biggest mistake of his life was not just being like, I cancel. I'm going to go make Pulp Fiction, probably the biggest mistake of his life. But good for John Travolta. Unfortunate for Michael Madsen, but it is what it is. They both have had good careers. I mean, I'm sorry. This is a 10 for me. I don't know if this reaches the 10 scale for you, but out of 10, where would you rate this?
I would rate this as a 9.
9.
You know how I am. Do you know how I am?
Yes, 10, that's true.
10 to nobody.
That's true. If Matteo gives you a 9, you did something right.
Take it.
Yes. Take it and run with the jewels to the.
I just want to tell you that there was one scene that I really love. Last time when we were talking about De Palma, we were talking about like director crafts, right? Rotating cameras, diopters. We were talking about like stuff that it was avant-garde for what De Palma did.
Sure.
In this case, we're talking about like dialogues, scenes. But there's one scene that when they are in the warehouse and they're starting to figure it out what's going on. I think it's the first one when Mr. Blonde comes. You see the camera pacing with the people, and you see them moving around like ahead and everything, like you were there as well to try to figure it out. I found that like a great little thing and detail that was amazing. Like you are with us to figure it out.
Yes, and I think that as this is one I will say, because you're so confined due to the setting and the low budget, you're not gonna like the camera movie. There's only so much you could do, but he does do a lot to try to make it as alive and jumping as possible. And I do think he did a good job. But that's obviously something as he got more money, he got more opportunity, he got more room to work with. Literally, only gets better as his career goes on. So that's definitely something to take note of here. We got people in the chat. James Abernathy, pretty zoned out, but I'm here. Welcome, James. Hope all is well. Here he is, Mernsy. There's a couple handsome fellas. What's up, Graveyard fam? Let's jump in some Tarantino. I know Mern's a big Pulp Fiction guy, and he was showing off his Italian poster and some like vinyls, I guess, some really cool stuff. Yeah. We have Anthony Chobot in the house. Hey, how you doing, buddy? By the way, still up to 2008 in my memoirs. And Stu from Scream is coming back. Sledgehammer Horror just broke it on my live stream. Wow, okay. Acres of Movies. Hello, excited for the program. Matteo, what part of Italy are you from? Have you ever visited Milan?
I have visited Milan. I'm from Florence, the best city in Italy, hands down. I've been to Milan 3-4 times to follow my soccer team to the Stadium of Milan. But for recreation, I've only been once.
How was I'm curious. How was soccer environment? Is it crazy, like compared to American baseball?
You don't want to know, John.
I'm sure I know. I'm sure it's crazy. I bet you there's no cheering for the other team. I would bet that.
Other supporters usually are put it in a cage. Like that's what it is. It's like a little spot that you have in your in the stadium, and like it's pretty violent. Now it's better. But when I started in the 1990s, man, there was still a lot of hooliganism. So, and I would be an hypocrite if I would say that I wasn't one of them. But thank God I met my wife when I was 25 and I'm still here.
God bless. We'll stick to the Royal Rumbles from one of those.
Man.
A lot more friendly. Favorite Reservoir Dogs characters. I said Nice Guy Eddie, and he said Mr. Orange and Mr. Blonde. Close tie, I guess. Hello and thanks. I think Slash Red Text in. I think what makes Reservoir Dogs such a unique movie is it's a heist movie. Also, the movie the gangsters are referred to as Mr. Okay. Red Rusty's in the house. Love me some R-Dogs. Guess if I had to choose, it would be Kill Bill 1 and 2 as my faves, along with Jackie Brown and Hateful Eight. Okay, some interesting hot takes there. Most people would put Jackie Brown and Hateful Eight towards the bottom. Kill Bill 1 and 2 are definitely some very popular films, though. One of my favorite heist movies is the very original Ocean's 11, which had featured the Rat Pack. That's an awesome one. Was Buscemi snubbed for Best Supporting Actor? I don't know. I wouldn't say that. Would you?
This movie was not taken very well, in my opinion, from the Hollywood like Academy and stuff like that. Like people, that are like that. I think this movie was quite a punch in the gut for Hollywood because it was successful. It was done for not a lot of money, and it was something new, which in Hollywood it's not taken very well. I think it was not Best Supporting Actor because this movie, Quentin Tarantino was taken as a joke at the beginning. Let's be honest, by Hollywood.
Sure,
and fiction said, you know what, guys, here's to you. Yeah.
If you watch, I don't know if you've seen. I mean, there's a lot of reviews of this movie when it came out, right? There's the famous Siskel and Ebert one where they're saying that after 15 minutes, this movie ran dry, and they were looking for. I'm like, oh man, like what? I don't know if it was an age thing for them. I don't know if it was a loss of touch a little bit with I guess what was cool, what was hip, what was
I'm a big fan of Siskel and Ebert to be honest.
I would. I mean, I don't mind watching the old videos. It takes you back to that time period when the movie came out, so I appreciate that. But as far as agreeing with them, I thought they missed the ball on that one.
They are the Devil Metzer of cinema, so I don't agree most of the time on their rating. So
100%. Yeah, no, I'm with that. The way you say rat, it sounds like James Cagney when he quotes, "You dirty rat." Oh, we gotta love James Cagney. Some more points from Acres of Movies. Grief World is in the house. What's going on, Nate? Hope all is well with you. Reservoir Dogs might be my favorite. Wow, that is awesome. It's definitely in my top 3 for sure. Anthony Chobot says, "How you doing, buddy?" Just posted on IG. Thank you so much. But Kill Bill Volume 1, Pulp Fiction, Django are my favorites. Miss C says, "I think Pulp might be my favorite QT movie." Okay. Let's see. A year later, Michael Madsen appeared in one of the most amazing family movies of the 1990s, Free Willy. And I think a lot of the people who are to see that movie were very shocked to see him in it. I've not seen the first Free Willy.
No,
I've not seen it. No.
Is that another one? Blue something? Maybe I don't know. All these wonderful movies, unfortunately, they're all a blur for me. So,
I never got into the Free Willy franchise. He only made 10, but I don't dislike any of them. Well, except Four Rooms, which is not my thing. Yeah, no, I wouldn't say there's any Quentin Tarantino movie I hate or I think is a bad film. I really wouldn't say that. I don't know if you share that same testament, but
I think the same. But I'm waiting for Quentin to do an horror, like a real horror.
I mean, and we only have one more opportunity for that, unfortunately, because the next one's his last. Brittany Ward checks into the graveyard. What's going on, Brittany? Kill Bill is phenomenal, like artwork, so well done, especially part 1. Anime scene is my fave. Love Quentin. Hateful Eight, Django, Kill Bill, Death Proof. Love them all. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Pink and Mr. Matteo and everyone in the chat? Been waiting for this discussion only on the graveyard. Well, tonight he's Matteo most of the time, but tonight he's either one of two people. He's either Dominic Di Coco or Antonio Margarete, which we will get there.
Speaking of which, by the way, we were talking before. Quentin loves to self-reference himself. He's not shy to self-reference himself in other movies.
Yeah, no, totally. And we're going to get into that stuff for sure. Brittany Ward says, hey, Graveyardians, Grandi, good to see you as well. Matteo, nice accent. Awesome. Yeah.
I disagree with you. I want to get rid of it. But, coming to an Anglophone country when I was 25, it's a problem.
It's fantastic. And funny, we were trading like quotes on Voice Messenger together. And I forget who you did, and you were like, "I make everyone sound." What did you say?
Yes. I said, yeah. I try to do like quotes from the movie, but they all sound like from House of Gucci, made by Jared Leto in that film.
I think he was like, "Au revoir, Shoshana." I was like, that's amazing. Agreed, his dialogue is the best. It sounds witty and clever, yet still natural. Yes, it's all organic. Is it my scar? It's your car. Death proof. Lap dance scene. Oh my God, that's the best lap dance scene in the history of cinema. Yes, very happy, long-time viewer. I didn't know how to chat or comment on my device, and I was walking my estate near the cottages when the workers mentioned how to use the chat. Oh, okay. Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
Good.
Well, no real film takes anything a critic says seriously. This one doesn't anyway. Well, that's Rusty. That's Rusty low key being like, "Screw you, Grande." That's his way.
Tarantino doesn't like to be critiqued a lot. When he gets critique, he gets back to you with a vengeance. Usually, journalist or stuff like that. You know, he's not an easy character. Can I ask you the last question on Dogs?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to move on so quickly.
There is a lot of people that are making comparison between a movie that I really love, and I think it's like a piece of cinema, and I want to be even more. I think it's a piece of Americana, which is Glengarry Glen Ross. A lot of people are comparing this movie to Glengarry Glen Ross because we don't see the heist like in Glengarry Glen Ross. Do you see any like kind of comparison between the two? For me, it's hard to find the connection.
I find the connection. I know what people are talking about. I totally think there's more to connect with City on Fire. I think that's the movie that's totally way more like this. And also, I would say The Killing way more so. And he even admitted that was the movie that made him want to make this movie. Yeah. So I see those two way more than I see Glengarry Glen Ross. But I definitely can see people making that comparison. How about you?
I didn't find it other than we don't see when like in Glengarry Glen Ross, we don't see Jack Lemmon doing the robbery that we had at the end we find out. I think that more than like this the female things, I think that the casting is amazing in both movies. That's the only thing that I can see that put this movie together. But I just wanted to know your opinion. And what do you think of Glengarry Glen Ross? Do you like the movie?
Fantastic movie. That's a great movie. Totally. I might even say I like Reservoir Dogs a little bit more, but it's definitely it's a great movie. It's like a 7 or an 8, probably an 8 out of 10 for me.
It's a cast that is almost you cannot do it again.
Oh yeah, you really can't. No, that's wow. I didn't expect that question. All right, this man's got the heavy hitters. Okay. I think. Speaking of a heavy hitter, Acres and Movie says Milan is greater than Florence. Hot takes.
Opinions. They're like, I'm not gonna keep.
I know what you're gonna say.
Everybody has one, right? So
everyone has one. Well, I've never thought of Grande as a professional critic. I meant professional ones. Grande is just wrong often about how good bad films are. I love it. Ella would be nice. No, it's all good fun. All good fun. We're all friends here. But that brings us to your pick of the night. Of course, my pick was Dogs. Your pick, of course, which came out in the year 2009. This was a monstrous hit, and I think at this point it was the biggest hit of his career financially. Against a budget of $70 million, grossed $321+ million. It was a huge summer blockbuster of the summer of 2009. I'm talking about this movie, Inglourious Bastards. Brief plot synopsis. In Nazi-occupied France during World War II, a plan to assassinate Nazi leaders by a group of Jewish U.S. soldiers coincides with the theater owner's eventual plans for the same. I mean, I don't know about you, and actually, I shouldn't say
you do know about me. You do know about me.
I do know about you, so I don't want to lie to these people. I'm sorry, but I think this is his best movie. Like, this is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, man. After rewatching it, I can confirm this is my favorite, and I believe you're on the same boat.
Yeah, this is. I am going to a big one. Probably top 10 of movies ever made. It's probably on a 7 and 8 position for me. Incredible movie from beginning to end. You know, if we analyze and we said that Reservoir Dogs was the beginning, let's say it's a life of a person. Reservoir Dogs is the birth or the baptism. Let's say we go here is graduation night. So I think that Quentin Tarantino graduate cum laude for sure, because this movie is everything that I want in a movie and more. I can see how some people that only speak English see this movie as a hard movie to follow because there's a lot of subtitles and different languages. I want to say that probably is one of my favorite movies because I have the privilege, but also at the same time, it was hard to achieve. Speaking 4 different languages, for me, this movie is incredible. I understand the 3 of the languages that are spoken in the movie, and not German. I took it for 1 year and I flunked miserably. So I don't understand that. But for me, is like how a movie should be made. You are in France, you speak French. You are in Germany, you speak German. As I said before, I hate when a movie is done in a country and they have an accent of that country speaking English. Or you speak the language that you want to speak, or you do it in English, just English, without any accent. So for me, this was incredible. Casting, let's talk about it.
Before we get there, I'm gonna jump in. I'm with you completely, and I know that you were absolutely right about that. I had a few people message me, and my own dad even said to me, he goes, a lot of people told me they would put this towards the bottom, and it is because of all the subtitle stuff. And I was like, that's a shame because I just think this is his best. And I think it's interesting to know where he was coming from at the time, right? We talked about Reservoir Dogs and that being the newborn. Pulp Fiction, probably his most iconic. A lot of people are going to consider that his magnum opus, and understandably so. If that's your favorite, that's totally fine. I do believe that and this are his most well-rounded movies. However, if you look at the movie he made prior to this, right, Death Proof, it was at the time considered not the greatest movie, right? It's still considered one of his, if not his most weakest movie. So a lot of people were like, man, like, did this guy fall off? What the heck? I do remember that buzz being around the time. And then when this movie came out, it was like all of that noise went away. And it was like, this is the man. Like Quentin Tarantino is back to being the man. And I do think that's a big, big, important element of this movie. And getting into I would just say starting off with the opening scene alone, it's one of my favorite openings in the history of cinema. Like it's a top 5 opening scene in the history of movies.
I definitely agree.
Oh, I mean, Christoph Waltz in this role is so freaking good. He's funny, he's charming, but then he gets dark and scary in a way. And like, I don't know, man, that opening scene, it's just incredible to me. Tell me your thoughts on it, though. I don't want to hog this.
For me, from a camera standpoint, it's a great beginning because you see Monsieur Lapadite that does the wood. You see the daughter with the bed sheets. He moves the Nazis are coming, and then they start speaking French. Then you figure it out that they start and they go to English because they don't want the Jewish people that are hidden under the floor to understand. They speak about the comparison between rats and squirrel. Like, there is so much going on. The comparison of the pipes. Like, can I have my pipe? I'll smoke my pipe. And
a glass of milk.
Exactly, the glass of milk, the daughters, the comment. You can see that he's a little bit of a creep from the beginning about the comments about the daughters. Is one more beautiful than the other, But one of the best beginning of movies for dialogue, for the surprise of speaking different languages, camera standpoint. It's incredible.
And I think most importantly of all, the tension that you feel, right? It's almost I was watching it for the umpteenth time a couple nights ago, and it's almost like you want to hold your own breath so he won't hear you. And I know it sounds crazy, of course, because you know where it's going, you know it's going to happen, but it's just that tension filled. And I think this is the movie that I think with the best tension scenes where you're just like, holy crap, you could cut this with a knife right now because it makes you feel so uncomfortable. And that's what I love about it. I think it's the perfect hook. It's like a 20-minute opening scene where it, of course, ends in this big shoot. And then Shoshana takes the, au revoir, Shoshana. And then we're off to the races, really, as we're introduced to the Bastards, who I know you wanted to get into the cast. What did you think of the cast in this movie? Because I thought all the bastards were just perfectly cast.
The cast was great. Christoph Waltz, let's be honest, it's a discovery of Quentin, because
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in other movies prior to this. And the role of the Jew hunter, man, is incredible. So the cast is great. Brad Pitt in this movie, I think, is great. I like also Fassbender in this movie, even if it's very short. And also, I don't remember the name, but the girl that does Shoshana, it's also very good, because I want to take, she escapes, right, from the killing of the family in 1941. And she meets Hans Landa again in France in 1943. The scene when they meet again, talking about tension, man.
Oh my God, yes.
That scene when they encounter again, and she's like, you can see her face, and then he leaves after he, wait for the cream. Like, there's some stuff in that scene. Her face at the end of that interaction left me mortified.
She just lets all the emotion that she bottles up.
It's like, I kept it so cool, man. I have to let it go. And and also about the cast, I'm gonna say something that I know, John, you're gonna give me an applause for it. I deeply think, and this statement stays, that Eli Roth is so much better as an actor than a director.
I agree. Matt Landrum said to say Eli Roth is the Bear Jew. Fucking
perfect, man. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm with that. Melanie Laurent was the actress's name that plays Shoshana. Yeah, she's great in this too. It's his best casted movie. I would agree with you, man.
And also, I am very bad with name. I think his name is Grohl. No, Frederick Zoller.
Daniel Brühl is his name.
Yes, him as well. I found him charming. You know what I mean? Like, a Nazi that is charming. Guy, come on. Like, I think he's a nice guy. You know what I mean? He hasn't done anything wrong. Like, he's so humble. He just wants the girl, and it's gonna end up very bad for him.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't done anything wrong. He only shot 400 people.
I know, but chances are circumstances. It's war. It's not like a picnic on the park. Like,
Yes, I'm just messing with you. No, I agree wholeheartedly, and I love how they're introduced these. We're gonna be doing one thing and one thing only: killing Nazis. I mean, it's just so much fun as they introduce these guys, and they'll have these little like character bios for them, and then a flashback, like a quick flash to see who they were before this, and you see some insane violence of the Til Schweiger. I'm sorry,
Hugo Stiglitz.
Stiglitz. That's right. As Til Schweiger,
like a comic character, like he comes Hugo Stiglitz, and then there's like the name underneath in like funny character, and he shows like all the disasters that he has done to the Gestapo officers.
Yeah, and they show you even they break him out because they heard of his reputation. They're like, "You want to come with us?" And this son of a bitch wants to die for his country. Why don't you come out here and oblige him? And he says something to the he's like, "Oh, watching the Bear Jew kill Nazis is the closest we ever get to going to the movies." Like, it's so fucking well written. Brad Pitt is great and quick and witty with this dialogue. I thought he delivered it in such a fun way. I think he's not only is he the comic relief, he's really he's the cojones of this movie in a lot of way, and I think he's a lot of fun in it. And then of course we follow these, like, basically three stories at once, right? We follow the bastards, we follow Shoshana, and then we follow yes, and it's like we kind of intermingle between these, and it's told in chapters, obviously. And I just thought the pacing here was so well done, right? Again, we have tension scenes, we have good dialogue, just as like always. We have great violence, cartoonish, over-the-top violence. The scenes of tension, right? We mentioned the one with the cream. To me, and even just as good, is when they go down to the basement to talk with Diane Kruger's character, who's also really great in this movie.
Amazing. The scene of her killing, it's great.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, what are you gonna do now? She plays Bridget von Hammerstock, who's this, like, I guess, German actress in this world, and they're all down in this basement and they're drinking or whatever. And these other German Nazi guys, they're drunk and they're kind of infiltrating the conversation, and Fassbender's getting pissed. He's like, son of a bitch, like, get out of here. And that, again, it escalates to the ultimate 3 instead of 3.
I got it right away as a European.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Oh, yeah. When I saw him, I'm like, okay, shit is gonna go down now, because the German and I go like this. If I have to speak with Anglophone people, I go like this, because otherwise they don't understand. But when I'm in Italy, that's what we do. So when I saw the 3 like this, I'm like, okay, it's gone.
See, I will say, when I first saw this, being American, I didn't know I was confused until it was explained to me later on. I'm like, what the fuck? And then she explains it at point in the movie. I was like, oh shit, because I never picked up on it. Now that I watch it, and you see when he does this, he looks, his expression changed. He goes, oh, the son of a bitch. And then,
exactly,
guns pointed at the huevos, and we get a big old fucking shootout. Amazing stuff, man. I just love this. And did you think the violence in this was over the top to a degree of too far, or like, because I think that's what gives the film its identity?
No, I think it was, I don't want to say normal, but it's a Tarantino movie. What do you want to expect? Like, I was expecting this, and I don't think it goes over the top. I really don't. I will say that in Kill Bill, probably, I condone him. I have no problem. But the violence in Kill Bill is worse than this. Eye sockets out, arms going out of the, I think
ripping the heart out.
Yeah, So I think in this one it was fair. We're talking of war, so I find it normal. One thing that I want to talk to you about is I found it genius. He used this thing again in the future with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Usually, dystopian, it's usually a future, right?
Sure.
So you take the future, you make it something, an event that changes, and your future like becomes that. Blade Runner, Terminator, all that. Doing a movie on a dystopian past, I've never seen it done.
Me
this
neither.
Is the first time that someone takes the past and make it dystopian. At the same time, he make it dystopian in the modus operandi, because the outcome of the story is the same. Nazi lose, Allies win. But the modus operandi is different. There is no there's not the D-Day, there is not the bomb, there is Operation Kino. So, right, that's what ended it. But if you think about it, he up itself, when he did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he take a dystopian past and it changes the modus operandi and the outcome.
Sure, yeah, and I would even say that for Django too, even though Django is all fictional characters, whereas Hollywood and this, I mean, it has Hitler, it has some of Hitler's running buddies that were real people. Yes, I agree, and that you're right. That was fucking revolutionary. I'd never seen anybody do that. It was, and people call it now. They say, "Oh, Tarantino likes to rewrite history in his movies," and it's like it started here.
Why not?
Yeah, and makes it better. It almost goes to the point where it's like, I wish this is how it ended. I wish they had fucking got Hitler in a movie theater like this,
Get a Tommy gun right in his face, like
kill by Eli Roth. But yeah, I mean, I think the whole build up to this whole like theater premiere is just some of the best stuff ever. And like when you get there, it really feels epic. Like to me, it's the perfect third act of a movie. As we're watching Shoshana, who we've watched to go through all this torment and all this, she's putting their lipstick on, getting ready, the big red dress for opening night. I thought that was great.
With David Bowie in the background, I want to say, because I'm a big fan of the Thin White Duke, so I just want to say.
Oh, sure, and I know Merns is too. Merns a big David Bowie guy. You have that, and then you of course have Brad Pitt and company, even pretending to be Italian, and you get the great scene with them and Christoph Waltz and Gorlami. Can I say it again? Gorlami. And then the Antonio and Dominic Di Coco. The Italian accent.
Bravo. He said bravo, right? Bravo.
I love it. He goes, oh, you know the third most. He goes, I don't know any at all. He goes, yes, like I said, the third most.
Yeah.
That's the third most.
Bravo.
Gorlami.
One other thing that I love, there is also, you said the scene of Shoshana getting ready. I love when the movie Nation's Pride, that I don't know if you know, but we played this before, so I'm pretty sure you know, that the movie within the movie is directed by Eli Roth. The like Nation's Pride, like the movie that they show at the premiere was shot by Eli Roth. I love when they show the cigarette burn of the like, you know, the how do you call it? Sorry, the film going. Sure. She changes the film, and he goes, "I want you to see the face of the Jew that is gonna kill you all." And I like that scene is like the climax. Everything goes on fire. All the Nazi get closed in, and then there is the Bear Jew and the Coco that do the rest. So
yeah, they're shooting all of them, and there's this whole. I like how too they have this thing where Daniel Broly finally confront. He's like, what are we gonna do? And she's like, get out of here, You're not welcome. You're not welcome. And he goes to hit her, and she's like, all right, like close the door. She shoots him, and then he shoots her, and it's all she didn't get to see any of this. And I thought that was, but it's almost like fitting that it's like posthumously her film was being shown, the flames are rising, all these terrible people are being burned and shot or both, and then it eventually explodes. I thought that was so much fun. Like, what a fun ass finale, and how it all builds right when they sit down to get into the middle of these seats with the dynamite strapped to their legs. And like, I don't know, I thought that whole just so much fun. What a fun finale in a movie theater. And like, what better finale, what better place to have it for a Quentin Tarantino movie than in a movie theater? Right? Another tribute and homage to that.
The end, because the end is even more bitter sweet, right?
Sure. And let me ask, I have to ask you about this because I was curious. And if I do have a problem with this movie, it is a small thing towards the end. Now, of course, as all this is going on, Brad Pitt gets captured alongside oh my God, what the hell is his name? Novak, right?
BG Novak.
BG Novak, that's right. The little man. He gets captured. They get captured.
They're actually bigger than I thought.
Yes, exactly. He's like, I have a nickname. They get captured, and Christoph Waltz kind of interrogates them and says, like, I'm going to surrender to you and all this. I don't know about you. I didn't really buy his character doing that at the end. I felt like he was so much smarter than that. But where do you stand on that? Am I crazy? That was my only issue with this movie.
Good analysis. So, it's for sure something that is not in sync with the killing of Bridget Verma, because in there, he's pissed with her. Like, you can see that he's a German, right? A pissed off German that, you cross me, I'm going to kill you. You lied to me, I'm going to kill you. So I see like how you can see that basically they are arch enemy, right? It's like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty, like it's Hans Landa and Aldo the Apache, right? Each other, they have a nickname, they're just different, maybe the same person in different uniforms.
Sure.
So I can see that Hans Landa giving up after what all we see of his character, what is he capable of, it's a little bit of I can see where you're coming from. At the same time, maybe he thinks that it was over. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's like, Kaka is going down the drain. I think I need to compromise. And I think I have the upper hand. So let's do it now. So I can see that as an excuse, but I can see how you are a little confused by it.
Yeah, no, and I if that was the reason, I by all means and don't get me wrong, I love what happens to him. Yes. I think that's great. I every time I'm always like, why? Like, why didn't he just stop what was going on? But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he just saw the writing on the wall, and that would make sense because that's his character throughout the movie. He saw the writing on the wall of the Jewish girls being, hoarded in the basement. He saw the writing on the wall of Bridget von Hammerstock being a part of the, the Jewish, I guess, bastards party. He always sees the writing on the wall. So maybe that's exactly what happened there. So that's actually a great, answer to it. I remember being like, he wouldn't have fell for this. Like, did he really believe Aldo Rain would have just let him surrender? Like, no way. Because as soon as that happens, I remember I'm like, he's getting fucked up. Like, they're not gonna. Sure. Immediately. And then you get, to me, the most fourth wall meta ending of any of his movies, where he carves the swastika in the skull of
because Aldo Raines doesn't want that the Nazi take out their uniform, so they need to be spotted. So
yes.
that's why he carves a swastika all the time to the survivor. And once again, I don't want to be, but once again, the power of the tale of the storytelling. We leave you alone so you can tell the story of Aldo the Apache and the Bastards. You know, legend grows with storytelling. So I love that too, man.
I do too. And then you get the line, I think I've painted my masterpiece. And I always kind of, I don't know, maybe if I'm reading too far into this, I feel like that's Quentin Tarantino saying, this is my masterpiece. Like, and I kind of agree. I think this is his masterpiece. I really do. I don't know if you feel that way. Is he saying that there? Am I reading too far into it? Like,
I think that you can see it, and I'm not going to stop believing that he does because it's possible. For me, it's a recurring thing. Doesn't they do it 3 times or 2 times?
I think 3 times, yeah.
And he said, oh, this one is not your best or something like that. And, I see it more as with practice comes perfection. So he have done it so many times, then at the end, to Lambda, he gives the perfect swastika and he goes, I think this is my masterpiece. Which,
yeah, okay. I like that too. I think that's really nice too. I don't know. I always see it because I like this movie the best of his filmography, that it's like his CM Punk moment of I'm breaking the fourth wall, being like, I think I made my masterpiece. As it ends, like the next thing you see is his name written, directed. I was like, bravo, man. Like really, really cool. Let's see what the chat has to say.
One part that I laugh hard, even if there was no jokes, because I completely forgot. I've seen this movie many times, but it's wonderful to rewatch it because you get little things. I love the scene of the General Michael Myers that does the General Fennec, by the way, which I think is an homage to our Edwige.
And his first name is Ed Fenech, which is totally a nod to Edwidge Fenech.
That talks with Hickox and Churchill in the room,
yes.
right? And they talk about movies, man. They talk about they talk about movies and they're like, oh, what do you think of the German avant-garde of the 1920s with pubs? And they talk about Jewish Hollywood and Siednik, which is the producer with Broccoli of 007. Like, I was laughing, even if like this guy, man. Like, I love him. Churchill, speaking of German avant-gardes of the 20s, man. Amazing.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a scene I forget about all the time too, but it is brilliant when you think about it.
Man.
It's almost like he was like, how do I put my movies talk in this movie? Fuck it, I'll do these 3 people.
Right, in like the Hickox is a movie critic in before being a soldier, right? So that's funny too.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome scene, man. Matt Landrum, Bastards is a masterpiece. Christoph Waltz is chef's kiss. I completely agree. This movie, the movie Pulp Fiction is a very incredible movie because it's an anthology movie where there's many different stories tied into one. Margarete. Brittany says, I love subtitled movies. Absolutely. In Death Proof, they used the song The Crazies Came Out, which is from John Carpenter's cult classic Escape from New York, which also stars Kurt Russell. Wasting Away in Margaritaville. Just kidding. One of the worst theater experiences of my life, says Mernsey. Remember, it was sold out show and it was so hot, just sweating my balls off for 3 hours. Yeah, Mernsey was telling me before, this is his least favorite Tarantino film. And I was like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. But no, Mearns is not a fan of this one. So much tension in that opening scene. The score leading up to the soldiers blowing the shit out of the floor is hair-raising, incredible stuff. I'm with you wholeheartedly. I mean, that's just, it's balls to the wall, LL poor Mearns. Eli Roth as the Bear Jew, effing perfect. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Alpha checks in. Alpha Romero says the Bear Jew was originally supposed to be Adam Sandler.
I have heard that. I know that. I read it. Yes, it's absolutely true.
That could have worked. No, I mean, I definitely think that could have worked. I don't know.
Yeah, it is one of the, and he announced because he had to do something else. I don't remember what.
Oh man, I mean, it would have been cool to see him in this. Honorable mention though, it's Rodriguez from Dusk Till Dawn, Quentin, one of my favorite movies of all time. Well, he wrote it too, so it's definitely in that ballpark. Did you know that there's also? I do know that it's called The Inglorious Bastards. I believe it's Fred Williamson, and I've never seen that though. Have you?
No, I have not.
Okay,
No, no.
Can't imagine that at all. I don't know. I could see Adam Sandler do. I don't think it would be terrible. I don't know.
You know how I feel about Adam Sandler. He always pops up in our lives, man, one way or another. But I am glad that Eli Roth did that and not directed the movie.
Okay, fair enough. I like the guy that played the Nazi major in The Basement. Such a prick, but super intelligent. Oh yeah, that guy is great. Oh my god, I got August Deal as Major Hellstorm, which what a great name, right?
But isn't he the same guy that is in the restaurant with Goebbels and Lambda and Shoshana? There is like another soldier. I think I have the impression that he's the same one. That he introduces himself, he goes to a chair, and then he leaves. It looks like
I believe it's the same guy, yes, because there's the one guy that comes in and hugs him. That's a different actor. But then there's the actor he sits. I believe that's the same guy. Yes, yeah. I think yes. Joe Mama says, "Let's go" in all caps. One of the funniest Holocaust movies that is classic is the very original To Be or Not to Be, and of course Mel Brooks had to do a remake of it in the '80s. I think it's
all together. It's hard to...
Yeah. Landrum says, I think his character is so arrogant that he underestimated Aldo and Udovich. Technically, he still got what he wanted out of the deal. He just got a souvenir to go with it. Interesting. Yeah, no, I could see that for sure. Yeah, that was actually a total meta. Okay, so Landrum's with me. Landrum thinks that's Tarantino saying this is my masterpiece. I think he had to do Funny People instead, which I don't like that movie at all, unfortunately.
Oh, yes. He's right. Alfa Romero is completely right. Yes.
That was with Seth Rogen, right? And it was like he's dying and then he's not dying. I don't know. I didn't like that movie. But this movie, I know they just released a 4K. Arrow did. I should pick it up. I still have this bare bones DVD. I really want to get that 4K. So that's something I will down the road get, But yeah, I'm sorry. This is a 10 out of 10 for me as well. I think this is actually his best movie. This is my number one.
I'm going to give him 9.75, John.
Really? I'm shocked this is not a 10 for you. Okay.
Oh, come on, John. Come on. 10 to
I know, but if it's on your top 10 ever, okay, let me ask, of your top 10 ever, how many 10s do you have? I'm curious.
Well, for me, the perfect movie doesn't exist. Even it doesn't. It doesn't.
So wait a minute. Okay, so even your favorite all-time film, you wouldn't say is a 10.
Not perfect. No, it's not.
Really? Okay. See, this guy is the toughest grader there is. I love this.
No, I'm just saying, I don't think perfection, sorry, we go philosophical shit, I'm sorry. But, I don't think perfection exists. So, for me to give it a perfect score, it doesn't mean, no, there is flaws, for sure. Small, but there are.
Totally fair. No, hey, totally fair. No, I would say, even though I give it a 10, I always had I'm like, you're surrendering? Even as a young, when I saw this, I was like, what the fuck? Even then, I still kind of, but I like
these movies are masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece. Yeah.
Someone said to me, bring 3 movies in a desert island. I'm probably going to bring this.
Sure. I mean, and yet also you get the length out of it too. I mean, I know a lot of people say this one feels a little bit over long. I don't really see that with this. No. I don't know. But before we get into the final movie that we're going to be reviewing, your guys' pick, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Matteo and I figured we'd give you our ultimate rankings, right? Because we're not reviewing every single one of his movies, but of course the next one was voted in by you, the fans. So do you want to give your top Tarantino list from worst to first?
I absolutely can, but I don't want to be judged.
Well, hey, I'm not going to. I got mine too. Whatever if you want to go first, if you want me to go first, I don't care. Whatever you say.
I'll go first.
My guest goes first. Go for it, my friend.
10 for me is The Eightful Eight.
Okay.
Number 9, Django. Number 8, Jackie Brown. Number 7, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 6, Kill Bill Volume 1. Number 5, Kill Bill Volume 2. Number 4, Death Proof. Number 3, Reservoir Dogs. Number 2, Pulp Fiction. And for me, number 1, is Inglorious Bastards.
Fantastic. I gotta say, I am so stoked that Death Proof is in the top 4. That is freaking awesome.
Stuntman Mike, man. It has to be there. It has to be there.
Fair lady, your chariot awaits. I love that list. Now, we actually have very similar lists. To the point where we have, I think, the same exact top 3. Bastards, I haven't. I'll go down. I'll read down. Bastards is number 1. I have Dogs at number 2. Then Pulp, so I switched 2 and 3 there. Then Pulp Fiction. Number 4, I actually have your bottom. I have The Hateful Eight, number 4. I actually like that one. I know I'm popular. Number 5, we have the same, Kill Bill. I just put as 1, Kill Bill altogether, Whole Bloody Affair. Number 6, Death Proof. 7, Jackie Brown. 8, Django. And number 9, the movie we're going to review here tonight, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, yeah, that is our list. Now, if you want to comment down below in the chat of your rankings of it, please do. I'm curious.
Us if you can.
Yeah, sure. Death Proof is in my top 3. Bastards, great top 10, boys. Yeah, everyone, share your top 10, top 9, I guess, if you consider Kill Bill 1 movie or 2, whatever. That doesn't, no judgment.
For me, I know that my Jackie Brown, almost like on my like close to the bottom. I know that a lot of people, they praise the movie. For me, it's too much dialogue, too much like when I was after Pulp, I understand that it's very hard to keep the same standards because that's a revolutionary movie. But man, I got very disappointed when it came out, and after rewatch, yes, I like it. I think it's a great story, but it's missing a lot of that pulp aspect that I was expecting. I know it's taken by a novel, so I think that doesn't help either. But I think Jackie Brown is not very very good movie.
Let me ask this. I mean, I know you're saying your reaction to Jackie Brown when it came out, and like, you forgive me, I was alive, but barely. Like, I was a few months old probably when Jackie Brown came out. Was that the general reaction, or like, was it looked at as a big a disappointment at the time?
People were disappointed, yes. From you can understand why, because you're coming. That's the hardest movie to do for me, for Tarantino, because after Pulp, he went viral. Like, I know it wasn't the time of the computer and everything, but we can say that like now he went viral. He went from Reservoir Dogs, and then everybody was talking about Pulp Fiction. It was acclaimed by the critic. It was acclaimed by the peers. It was acclaimed by the audience. See, I did this, and so you understand why Jackie Brown. It's hard to follow, man.
It is, yeah, no, and I get it completely. I could see people that coming off Pulp Fiction, and even Reservoir Dogs for that matter, I could see coming off those two being like, oh man, like opening night, let's be in the movies, let's go see Jackie Brown. And like, Jackie Brown is not that type of movie. And even Mern says it, I think this is a great way to put it. I think of Jackie Brown as Tarantino's a Cusick album, where everything else, it's classic rock, it's up tempo, very hard, like, but that's his slow, most mature, arguably his most mature movie.
Yes.
And I get that. I totally get why it's polarizing for sure. Alpha chimes in with his top. Okay. Also, Brittany Ward says Death Proof's in her top 5. So, okay. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Jackie Brown. Okay, so I would say those his 2 most mature films at the top.
Yeah, definitely. Those 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a mature movie. 100%. We're gonna talk about it. It's definitely a mature movie, but not a mature like how he shot, the timing, like everything is like, you can see it's someone that knows how to do movies, right?
Yeah.
Jackie Brown is still a ripe movie, right? But mature at the same time. There is some roughness in Jackie Brown, but you can see that it's a mature movie as well.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that.
Proof, it's not mature, but on purpose, because it comes. We need to know that that Proof came with Planet Terror, so like it has to be like I see them together, right? It could not be a different movie since the other feature is Planet Terror. So
Yeah, no, wholeheartedly. Kill Bill Volume 2, which I know for most people that's unpopular, but that makes sense. Knowing Alpha, that makes so much more sense to me because obviously a big Romero guy, and that's way more the dialogue movie. And I do think that the dialogue of that movie is just tremendous. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I would be shocked if you had 1/2, put it to you that way. No, and Alpha. Pulpit right in the middle. Pulpit, the 5 spot. Bastards, Django, Dogs, Kill Bill Volume 1, Hateful Eight. So you had the same bottom as you. Landrum chimes in. Once Upon a Time at number 1, Bastards, Pulp Fiction, Dogs, Django, Kill Bill, Hateful Eight, Jackie Brown, Death Proof. Okay, so yeah, usually the ones you see towards the bottom is Hateful Eight and Death Proof, so that makes sense.
Can I say something, John?
Sure.
The people that are putting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so up, can they give us a reason why? Because I wanted to be honest with them. I'm it's not gonna be a good review, on my opinion, of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like okay, great, good movie, but not a great movie. Like for me, a rather Tarantino movie. So I would like to know what you guys like, and maybe I can empathize and understand why I'm wrong and you're right, or we can find a compromise.
I want to piggyback on that completely because I'm with you. I mean, we have backpack people put it at number 1 slot.
If you can give us the motivation why, because for us, let's say it's not the opus magnus that.
Yeah, no, hey, I'm with you there because, hey, I put it at the bottom. That's my least favorite. And again, I agree. He's never made a bad movie. There isn't such a thing as a terrible.
Even the Eightful Eight, I can put it now and I'll watch it beginning to end, and I have no problem. And I'll probably say, "Oh, that was a good night." So,
yeah. No, I watched it last night just for fun, and you were like, for fun, you teasing me. I was like, yeah, I don't know, but definitely it seems like Hateful Eight at this chat. A lot of people had that towards the bottom, so I might be in the minority there. But this is all fun. Haven't seen Bastard, so I can't really comment on it. My least. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I thought that they tampered with history and waited entirely too long. Okay, so interesting. It seems like it's a very polarizing one, right? So we are going to get into it. I guess before we get into it, we can wait on their answer. And I can tell you my story, I guess, with watching the movie, because we were talking before the show. That was to this day, the only Tarantino film I've ever seen in the theater was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I remember the week before it came out, I pre-ordered tickets. I mean, this was a big deal for me. I'm going to see a Quentin Tarantino movie, opening night premiere. I had a bunch of friends, a date with me. I was so excited. I remember being so excited. I liked the movie, but I didn't walk out as maybe I overhyped it. Maybe I was too amped up. I don't know. But I kind of walked out a little bit like, that's it. Like that kind of reaction. Good, not great. I'm with you completely. That was my.
I want to ask you a question, John. You asked me about the violence, right? I'm going to give you a different aspect of Tarantino. Do you have any problems with this language? And when I talk about language, I talk about using of words that sometimes, on my opinion, are unnecessary. Sometimes I completely understand why they're there, with the effect that they want to do. But do you have any problems with this choosing of words sometimes? And we know exactly, me and you, what we're talking about.
Yes, exactly. I can see why people do, and I totally understand it. And if they feel that way, that's totally. I think it's honestly understandable, beyond understandable. I look at cinema in a way where I'm escaping from the real world, and I really don't take things that are said in a movie as face value as it's saying in real life. That's just me. But yeah, listen, the even the characters in Reservoir Dogs, they're saying some. You're like, wow, like,
yeah,
I'm surprised. Hateful Eight, it said
Hateful Eight, Django. Let's not even talk about it.
Django, but can you make that movie without like?
That one, I agree with you. You have to. But at the same time, you can, like, instead of 10 times, just saying 3 times. Like, like you can make
limit it, yeah.
Self-censored yourself, which I think that with Quentin Tarantino doesn't work. And, you see the result, right? Yeah. But sometimes, I find it necessary sometimes. But sometimes I'm like, that time I would have used a different word. But
I agree. Could he limit it? Could he filter it? Absolutely. I also think that he's in the mentality of I don't give a fuck. I'm going to make the movie how I want to, and I respect that. I really do. I know. Listen, Spike Lee has been a big critic of him.
Yes,
Spike Lee has really bashed him for it. I love a lot of Spike Lee movies. I'll be the first one to tell you. Spike's entitled to feel that way. I totally understand why he feels that way. I just look at it. It's a movie. Like that's kind of. I know it's a simple kind of not 3D way to look at it, but that's just where I'm coming from.
At the same time, I want to tell to Spike Lee, which is probably going to follow this live.
After the Knicks game, he's going to watch this.
He's a great Prince fan like me, so kudos to him. But at the same time, in one of his movies, which is Do the Right Thing, he spends 3 minutes offending Italians for 1 minute and a half with another ethnicity saying bad thing about them, and then Italian people offending the other ethnicity for another minute and a half. So it's a little hypocritical to, criticize someone for doing something that you have done. So come on, Spike.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm with you. I don't know. It doesn't break it for me. But I do know there are people that feel away, and that's totally fine if that's the case. So, no, I appreciate you bringing that up because that is definitely I guess, an eggshell topic, if you will. But, no, everything, we're open to talk here. I mean, this is open for let's see. I think Alpha, I didn't love it all at first. This is, I guess, in return to Once Upon a Time. But each time I see it, I love it more and more. And the last time I watched it, it just hit me on another level for some reason. It's funny. I'm the opposite. I thought it was good. I would have probably put it to number 5. If you asked me coming out of the theater, rank this right now, I would have said number 5. It would have been right in the middle for me. As I've rewatched, it's the opposite for me. It has gone down and down and down. And then this recent time, it hit the bottom. It finally, I don't know, it just kind of got there. Don't feel bad, Miss C, for starting to get Tarantino late. Never seen Pulp Fiction, never seen Res Dogs, don't really remember it. Inglourious Basterds, I just couldn't get into, but it wasn't bad. Okay. That ranch scene may be one of the most intense, uncomfortable. See, I agree there's some tension, but I didn't feel, not like Bastards.
Inside the house, there is tension.
Yeah.
When you're inside the house with Squeaky, when Cliff is in the house with Squeaky, I agree. There's tension, something is going to happen. But when you go outside, even the environment, open,
Yeah, other than that, it's not, it was Tarantino's love letter to a place and time. One of the things that I love about the happy ending that he gave Sharon Tate, but more importantly, Rick Dalton's character, I loved his arc. Okay, that's I would agree with that. I like the third act. I think that's for sure.
The last 15 minutes of that movie are adrenaline shoot in the vein. That's it.
Yes. No, I agree. Least favorite to favorite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Hateful Eight, Jackie Brown, Django Unchained, Death Proof, Pulp Fiction. Okay. All right. Never seen Once Upon a Time. So for me, 1, Kill Bill, 2, Kill Bill Volume 2. All right. So Kill Bill, Whole Bloody Affair is 1 and 2. Django, I love. Death Proof, Hateful Eight. I respect Quentin. Love his uncensorship. It's honest. It's original. I love it. Jackie Brown is Sam. That I think is his best. I don't know. It's his most real character. Like, I like Jules Winfield better, but I get what he means. Ordell is fucking awesome too.
I want to say that Jules in Pulp Fiction is quite something. But as I told you before, John, man, his character in Django, he really gets me going, man. When I see him in that movie, I despise him. So for giving that much of a primal feeling, I give him kudos because in Django, he's the worst, man.
Right? Yeah. And then in Hateful Eight, he's kind of fun. Like I don't know. He's great. He's a great actor. Yeah. His style of filming and dialogue is super memorable. Matt Landrum says, I love DiCaprio. Oh, I love DiCaprio too. The scene where he was filming the Western with Timothy Dalton.
We're going to talk about it.
Watching him lose control in the trailer. I loved Leonardo too. You love to hate him. Oh, she's talking about Django. The opening Columbia logo. Okay. All right. So, we beat around the bush long enough. Let's get into the last movie we're reviewing here. This was the fan winner of the poll of 352 votes. 40% of them fucking went to this movie. So that's wild. Alpha, what about Snakes on a Plane? Come on, man. I loved him in Hateful Eight. This is a movie from 2019, his latest film to date. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. As Hollywood's golden age is winding down during the summer of 1969, television actor Rick Dalton and his stunt double Cliff Booth endeavor to achieve lasting success in Hollywood while meeting several colorful characters along the way. What was your first thoughts of this movie? Like, do you remember seeing this in the theater?
I went to the theater, as I said, the first 3 movies of Quentin, I had to rent the VHS from Blockbuster. So, but after Kill Bill Volume 1, I always went to the theater to watch a Quentin Tarantino movie. I went this time, and I want to start with saying something. It's gonna sound creepy. I'm so sorry to sound creepy. I have a sort of a fascination, but not in a bad way, with serial killers. Okay, for me, they're like fascinating. Like, I don't know why. You try to understand. Even, for example, I come from a city that has a serial killer, which is called the Monster of Florence. He killed 16 couples while they were in intimacy, and he was never caught. So that's probably one of the fascination that I have. So I'm very familiar with Cielo Drive and the La Bianca murders of the Manson family. So I have to be honest, when the first time that I watch it, for me, the Manson family looks like idiots. And I like what they did to Sharon Tate at the Cielo Drive murder scene, and what they did to the La Bianca. I was a little not upset, but it's okay. The dystopian past, as I said, with a different outcome. As I said, that's genius. I'm glad that he gave Sharon Tate life instead of death. But how at the end he came out, I was a little disappointed that, ferocious group of a cult basically looked like idiots.
They look like Batman henchmen, really. I mean,
yes. That aside, I want to tell you that I think it's a great love story of, let's call it love story. I think it's a love story between Cliff and
Rick Dalton.
Rick, the relationship between the stunt double and a declined actor that I think is... he's his first problem, man. That man doesn't believe in himself anymore. He needs Cliff for self-esteem. He needs Cliff for a lot of things. He's not independent anymore. So I love the arc. I love the friendship. And I love all of it. And I want to say to Quentin Tarantino that I know that this movie was done with 0 CGI. So for make that 1969 to 1969 on screen, man, it's incredible. It looks like we're back in time, and it didn't use any CGI. So that was great. And I love the scope. I love the filters. I think it's a great timepiece. That one for sure.
I'm with you. And I think that you're right completely. The best thing about this movie is the world he takes you to, right? And you're right. The scope of it, the way it all looks, the way it all feels. You generally feel like you were in a time machine and you're in that era. It's incredible. I mean, they really made Margot Robbie, not that she doesn't look or have a resemblance to Sharon Tate but they really made her look like Sharon Tate. Like, it's actually incredible how much she resembles her when you finally watch the movie. I agree. The friendship between Rick and Cliff it's really good. I like their chemistry together, Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio respectively. I like some of their buddy moments. We have a lot of callbacks to TV shows at that time, whether it be The Virginian, and then you of course have Rick Dalton, who's the star of Bounty Law, and he's this great bounty hunter, I guess. And I think his biggest tribute to cinema itself, right? Like we were talking about how Death Proof's a nod to and love letter to exploitation. And then, we have this dystopian future movies, or the Kill Bill and, nods to Japanese, karate and fight martial arts movies. He pays all these, but this to me is the biggest love letter to movies themselves and Hollywood itself. And I guess that's a big reason why I think also some people might have this at number one, because what better movie from a movie lover than a movie that's literally the love letter to movies themselves?
And it's also the most autobiographical of all the movies of Tarantino, because he said he was going with his stepdad with those on those Volbar like going in and out and going to this theater. For 1 second, John, I want to be serious. I just want to say that since we're talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I want to give all my solidarity to all the people that have suffered losses and of property and everything in the wildfires that have been in California. So I just want to say that as well.
I'm with you completely. No, all that is really, really sad, especially and like that's why a big reason too. Like while I was watching this, I did think of that. I was like, man, like I hope everything is okay there now. And I haven't heard any updates really, but I hope everything's getting better because that's just horrific what happened.
Yeah.
But I think getting back into this movie, this to me, the way I look at this movie, it's much more like a day in the lives of these people, right? It's Cliff's day, it's Rick's day, and it's Sharon's day. And it's the three of them are kind of separated from, we don't see Rick Dalton and Sharon Tate on screen together until the last fucking minute of the movie.
Yes. From the top. That's it.
From the top. An overhang shot. And like at the time, I remember being excited because I'm going, I love The Wolf of Wall Street. Margot and DiCaprio back together. This is exciting. And I remember being kind of like, shit, like they didn't interact until the very end. I was kind of upset. I won't lie to you. I was like, son of a bitch. But again, that's more a me thing, I guess, than an anticipation thing. But again, it's a day in the lives of these people, right? Leonardo DiCaprio, he goes to the set. He's not believing in himself anymore. He's flipping out in the trailer. Has some amazing scenes of acting with the late Luke Perry, may rest in peace, and the scene with Julia Butters, which I know you wanted to go on about. Please do.
Yeah. That's like when I saw that movie for the entire scene. So let's start from. So he's doing this movie called Lancer, right?
Yes.
Or TV show, movie. He's doing this movie, and there's this little kid that has more confidence than Rick for the entire movie. And there is a scene that there's Luke Perry, rest in peace. That he acts like about killing this girl, doing the worst thing to her, and you believe it because like his eyes, his way of saying things and everything, and it's like an actor acting on being an actor. Like these things of like mental thing really get me. And then
he has to act like he's acting. That's so hard to do, but he pulls it off great.
It is. And so I think that part is like great acting by Leonardo DiCaprio. I want to tell you that I think that my generation that have been a teenager during 1997, that was the year that Titanic came off. To be honest, DiCaprio, all the girls of my class in university, and they were, DiCaprio. I hate him, man. I hate him.
Do you?
Yes, I can't stand you, man. I really ball. I can't stand you anymore. But then, man, when we were going and he gets more mature and he does some proof of acting, then I'm like, DiCaprio really deserved to be at that level because he deserved it. And the acting that is done in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's one of them. I think that Brad Pitt get an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. I think that DiCaprio maybe in this movie would have deserved something better.
I can agree. I think, and he's got snubbed a lot. Like he should have won for Wolf of Wall Street. They gave it to him for the I like the Revenant, but
the Revenant is good though.
It's a good movie. It's just, and I'm thinking the best Leonardo DiCaprio performance. That's not the one that comes to mind.
No.
It felt like a lifetime achievement Oscar more so than anything else, and it's nice that he got it. He deserved it. He earned it, I should say. I agree. Yeah, I think he's just as good. His performance isn't as like Brad Pitt. I think his character, he's the cool guy. He's doing the more, he's driving around LA. He picks up Pussycat, played by Margaret Qualley, who's kind of garnered stardom, right? I think she got nominated for a Golden Globe for The Substance. So she's really garnered a big career, and it's interesting to see their kind of interactions and their callbacks to other Tarantino films. What are you? I'm a stuntman. I popped for that in the theater. I was like, yes! I was like a Death Proof callback. I popped for that. I thought that was awesome.
And then speaking of which, we have Randy, which is the stuntman coordinator of Lancer. That is our good friend Kurt Russell. So
and the narrator of this movie, which I thought was kind of cool. I was like, oh, cool, like cool way to get Captain Kurt a little bit more lines in the air. the stuff with Brad Pitt, I definitely think that's a big reason why he got the Oscar. It's just the cooler character of the two. I get why. And the stuff he's doing is fun. I mean, he goes to the ranch. That's the big scene in this where, they build the tension, and it's the squeaky and the payoff with Bruce Dern, where it's basically nothing. Like, he's just being taken advantage of a little bit, but he is still getting some, lady friend on the side. That whole sequence, it's fine. I guess it's just a big disconnect for me. It's like, this is really the Seinfeld of his movies. It's the movie about nothing. There's really no stakes. And I think that's the big disconnect for me. Scope is great. Cinematography is great. Acting is great. The look of this, the world, all of it. It's great. I'm not going to deny that. I just don't know, like plot wise, what would you even say? It's just a day in the lives of these people, really. Margot Robbie, here she's going to buy a book. Here she's going to the movies. Here's her dirty fucking feet. It seems like
there's a lot of dirty feet in this movie. I agree with you.
Too much. I was like, dude, Death Proof was even less with the feet than this.
But no, this one has a lot. One thing that I want to tell you, though, is that every once in a while there's some Easter eggs in this movie. Like, there is some stuff that makes me go, like, actually Leonardo DiCaprio goes in the movie, it makes me go like that on the TV, like, to indicate the stuff. Man, there is like great camera work, a great scene when he goes home from the first time Cliff goes home from Rick's house. There's a shot that he shows the drive-in from the top with a crane shot that goes inside, and I really love that. I love that he shows the difference between Rick and Cliff living-wise, right? You can see that Cliff does a lot of things for Rick, but it doesn't pay off. He does it for friendship. He doesn't do it for money, man. He lives in a trailer. Like, he eats craft dinner, and the dog food is shit. So, I can see that. Plot-wise, I like the as I said, the friendship arc between the two of them. The fact that he goes to Italy, man, that part. Maybe because I'm Italian. I really like, he cries because he has to do a Sergio Corbucci Western. And he cries on
Kelly Savalas. And I love the posters. That was great. I love that shit too.
And then he goes, who likes spaghetti Western anyways? Which is a great pun of Quentin Tarantino, because he loves spaghetti Western. And I want to say, of course, because they're amazing, but I'm biased. But, he goes there, and by the way, one of the movies that he does while he's in Italy is called Operazione Dynamite, and the director is Antonio Margheriti. So he self-references himself once again in the Quentin Tarantino universe. So I find a lot of different Easter eggs in this movie, man. I understand the length for me is too much. Let's talk about that. 2 hours and 40, I would say 25 minutes, a half hour less of some scenes cut here and there, and I would have loved it. I wouldn't think it's a good movie anyways.
Let me ask you this. I agree, and I do believe a big reason for that, and this is never ever talked about, so I want to talk about this, even if it's brief. Of course, he had one editor for most of his films. From Reservoir Dogs all the way to Bastards, Sally Menke was his editor. And I thought she was always a big key to why his movies worked, right? Because if you're playing with chronology and sequencing and stuff like she was a big key to his career. And if you watch any special features, he always speaks the world of her. And so do the actors and actresses. They're always like, Sally is fucking great. Unfortunately, she had a really sad, horrific death. I think she suffered heat stroke while she was hiking. Sometime after Inglourious Basterds, and his last 3 films, Django, Hateful Eight, and this, all have different editor. I don't know. To me, all 3 of those movies I just said, Django, Hateful, and this, all feel overlong to me. All of them. And I like all of them. I do. But I would say they really...
That's the right length, though. I agree with Django. I agree with Django and Once Upon a Time, but I think Hateful Eight, I don't see places that you can... cut a lot. That's
sure. Okay, that's totally fine. Again, though, 2 hours and 47 minutes, we're in a cabin for the most of it. I get why. Maybe because it's more claustrophobic. Maybe that's why it feels. But I don't know. Do you see any? I feel like he sorely misses her. I really do. I really, really see that. I don't. Maybe I'm alone, but it's fine if you don't.
If you, I don't want to compare it to a marriage, but let's say that you work for a person for a long time, right?
Sure.
You know their strengths, you know their weaknesses, you know what they want, you know what they don't want. This person knows what Quentin Tarantino wants, how it needs to be done, and he has done it for all the entire movie. Unfortunately, you have to find something new. The understanding of three different editors. Maybe John, first one didn't do a good job, second one didn't do a good job, and find another one. If you like something, you want consistency, right? So you like, you keep. You don't like, go away. So I don't think he was satisfied as well with the editing of the last two movies. Maybe he's satisfied with this one. And there is some good scene, to be honest. The Spawn Ranch scene, it is a great scene with dogs everywhere, and you can really see like an abandoned place taken over by hippies. So I can really see that. So yeah.
No, I think you put it in a great way. And also to jump on top of the Spawn Ranch thing, you see a lot of actresses that are kind of made a career now. Like I noticed Sydney Sweeney was in there. Kevin Smith's daughter is in there. Harley Quinn Smith is one of them. I noticed, I don't know if you noticed, Danielle Harris is in there. Pregnant Danielle Harris is randomly in there. I was like, wow, like what the fuck? Fucking weird. Of course, Austin Butler, who's gone on to be, he was Elvis, and he's
yeah.
And then also Mikey Madison, who's up for Best Actress at the Academy Awards now for Anora. So you have some people that really have gone on to put together careers for themselves. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it shows that Quentin still, even for background actors, has a fucking eye for seeing casting talent,
Even for me, this is not amazing. I still admit that the casting, man, it's spot on in this one as well.
It really is. Now, I want to talk about the finale with you, because that is my favorite part of the movie. Most people's favorite part.
Before we go, I have a couple of, for example, the scene in the Playboy Mansion. You can cut some there. Like, you know what I mean? Like you show up Steve McQueen, okay?
And the mamas and the papas, right? They showed
Mama Cass, that, by the way, she died choked on a chicken wing. I don't know if you know but that's how she died. It's true story.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah. Mama Cass from the Mamas and the Papas.
I didn't know she died by choking on a chicken wing. Holy cow! I'm sorry, I laughed. I thought you were fucking with me.
No. It's a true story. So that scene, and even some of the TV scenes, they watch a lot of TV, which I think that when Quentin Tarantino was doing when he was a kid. So he remembers a lot of things that you have seen on TV, right? We see this old TV showing 50s show. There is a chance to cut the movie. And for me, in the Playboy Mansion is one of the scenes that we can make it 2 minutes and that's it. You're ready.
I even say the stuff with Pacino, like, yeah, it's cool. There's Al Pacino, and he gets them. Eventually, they do get to a point of it where he gets them the Italian picture deal. But like,
yeah,
I was kind of just like, all right, it's like here's Al Pacino and a Quentin Tarantino. That's that to me is all it was. It was just like, okay, we work together like that. I don't know. That was the vibe I got.
If instead of Al Pacino was someone else, it would then not make a difference.
Exactly. Yeah. It didn't. The whole Bruce Lee scene, while it's fun and he fights
What do you think about that?
I thought it was fine, but I don't know.
There's a lot of people that are upset because he made Bruce Lee look like a stupid person, and I think actually like they tie when like Cliff and Bruce Lee go. Bruce Lee hit him once, and the second time, he does the same move. You go to where the car is, and then they get stopped. So we never know who the two will be prevail. My money is Cliff, since he kills his wife and he gets away from it. It's high on LSD, but he kicks the ass of home invaders like there's no tomorrow. So I'm pretty sure my money would be on Cliff.
But, sure. Although I think that got the desired, like that people popped for that in the theater when he threw him into the car. Everyone they roared laughing. That was a big reaction for this movie when I saw it. I think the elephant in the room though is Margot Robbie. Like, fine actress. She's been nominated for Academy. I thought she was great as Tanya Harding. I still think that's her best role.
Hi, Tanya.
Yes, I thought she was great in that. The movie was okay, but she was fucking great in it. Like, I thought she was great. I mean, she's just sort of there in this. I mean, how much dialogue does she really have? Like, I don't like every scene. It's like she's either dancing, she's walking, or watching something. Like, it's just not much of a character there. Do you think it was a situation where he didn't want to taint what Sharon's, I guess, whatever her legacy is now? Like, is there a reason that she didn't get dialogue in a almost 3-hour movie? What does she say? A page worth?
You know what, John? I think he didn't want like the story of Sharon Tate is in the background. Let's be honest. It's about Rick and Cliff. It's about Rick and Cliff that casually Rick lives next to Sharon Tate in Cielo Drive. So I see it as like a character. You know, think about this, John. If this was not dystopian past, you don't know what happened to Sharon Tate. Why she's even there?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Why we talk about this neighbor, right? I don't see, you know. Yeah, she's married with the Rosemary's Baby director, but you know, she appears because Quentin Tarantino wants to show her as a human, as empathize with her, which I fucking empathize because like what happened to her was terrible.
Oh, same, yeah.
Disaster. So, but yeah, she's not a lead character. She doesn't speak much, and I don't know.
And even though, I mean, if you look at the poster too, like she's right there with them. She's right, like, and the way this was marketed, it was a ton of her in the trailers. I was like, oh, this is going to be really interesting to see her play this role. And I was sort of disappointed there. It felt like there really wasn't much more for her to do. But I get why, and what you're saying is right. If I go in blind, not knowing who Sharon Tate is, then there's no need or reason to be disappointed other than, wow, that's a big actress to get such little to do.
Right?
I guess that's
to do the neighbor, right? She would not be Sharon Tate. She would be the neighbor.
Yes. I will say this though. I think the reason most people were so interested in this, and the reason a lot of people bought tickets. I mean, this was a huge hit. This grossed just under $400 million. This is a monster hit.
It was big.
Let me ask this. I think the main ticket seller was, and the reason that this movie had a lot of buzz was the Manson stuff. Like that was,
yeah.
But you really don't get much of that until the last 15 minutes. Like,
yeah, no, you don't get it. You see the Spawn Ranch. You see the scene where Cliff picks up Pussycat and brings it to Spawn Ranch, and then you can see the tension. You can see that something is off. For me, that's the sliding door of dystopian past. By the way, I think that when his tires get slashed, that's where something is happening. That the past becomes different, and at the same time, the nail on the coffin he gives Rick when he goes out completely drunk with a pitcher of frozen margaritas, and he starts just slashing on the hippies. And that one for sure is the nail on the coffin. But I don't know, man. This movie, as I said, good but not great.
I will say the finale is great. I like the third act is fun. Let's go over that because that's where I'm like, okay, like this was worth the price of admission. I remember my friend who was she said she was like before that ending, that was like a 3 out of 10 for me. She said, and she's like, when that ending happened, she's like, I added another 3-4 points right there.
Oh, definitely.
And it's a lot of fun as it's Mikey Madison, Austin Butler, and I don't know the other actress's name, but they come break in. You get I'm the devil and I'm here to do the devil's business. No, or something dumber than that.
That was work.
Yeah, the whole, over the top violence, smashing in the face and the dog head in the face. The torched one, the Nazi, the Third Reich, like burning her alive. That stuff is a lot of fun. And then of course, I liked the heart between the two of them, where they're putting Brad Pitt in the ambulance. And he's like, "You're good friend, Cliff." And he goes, "I try," as they kind of take him away. I liked that. I thought that was, and then nice, like come over for a drink, Rick Dalton, and they meet and
What happened, what from someone that, and then, like that. Okay. This scene, the first time that I saw it, when like the guy that is supposed to be dead in reality speaks with Rick, and then she speaks on the, on the speaker, phone, on the speaker, whatever, with Rick. My heart was a little soft, man, because I'm thinking about the reality of things, right? You think like at this point in reality they were all dead in that house at Cielo Drive. It's not that there was Rick and Cliff, So for me, see them alive and talking, I was like, holy shit, it's pretty powerful. At the same time, the scene inside the house of Rick, the last 10 minutes, man, that is incredible. It's adrenaline. The dog molding people, him throwing a can of dog food and deforming a person, smashing the face in like American History X. Then you have taken the face of one of the person and just smashing everywhere. By the way, that's Profondo Rosso. But like putting the face in the mantle with the teeth and everything. That end is great. And then he tortures the girl with a movie prop that we find out at the beginning. That's just awesome.
Yeah, and that's the callback to Bastards, which I thought was funny. And you even have the we didn't mention the red apple and like the big kahuna, like the cute the Quentin universe, right? There's all those callbacks in here too. And that's cool. I like the finale. To me, the finale really does save it. And it's like, okay, like payoff. We finally got payoff. But I agree. Cut some fat out. There's fat in here. Whereas I would dare to say this is the Tarantino movie with the least fat. There's no fat in this movie. It's just
it's lean.
Yes, it's just tight. It's really good. This I do see some fat there, but I understand. I will say I understand why people like spending so much time in this world because they built a really nice one. It looks great. Actors all do a good job. I just guess I wish I wanted a little bit more stakes. And that's really, again, you look at my top 3, there's stakes in all those movies, right? Dogs, Bastard, Pulp Fiction. There's some stakes there. There is. Here it's just kind of like I said, the day in the lives of these people, and there's nothing wrong with that. It definitely works.
The movie is mature, man. Like the movie, the movie's there. Eh? The movie's there from a director's standpoint, casting. All the famous boxes that me and you we talk all the time of directors. They're there. The music is there, which is a great part of Tarantino universe, by the way, the music. But like they're all there. For me, it's too long. Like so, if you ask me, Matteo, what are the critiques you do to this movie? Movie's a little flat. Movie, it's a little long, but it's a mature. You cannot say anything to a director. If this movie was done by Wes Anderson, which is another of the generation of Tarantino, it doesn't for sure. Wes Anderson would not end with those 15 minutes. But I'm just saying, you can see crafty. It is a crafty movie.
Yes, and I'm not positive. Maybe you could confirm. I believe there is a longer cut of this movie, if I'm not mistaken.
I want to be honest. I don't know, but I hope not. But
I think there is. I'm like, maybe someone in the comments can confirm that for me. I believe when this came to 4K, there's an extended version that you can watch. I don't know how extended it is, but I do believe there's a longer cut. And when I heard that, I had the same reaction. I was like, what? Like, what more could you, unless it's dialogue from Margot Robbie, I'm like, I'm not really.
Margot Robbie, by the way, in these movies is so hot.
Oh, she's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And her dresses and outfits are amazing. So
yeah. Oh my God. Yes, that stuff. That's right. I should have mentioned that. That the costumes and
the costumes in these movies it's great, man. Just great.
I agree. What would you rate this before we go to the comments? What would you give it out of 10?
Since it's still a Tarantino movie, I'm gonna go 7 out of 10.
I'm the exact same rating, 7 out of 10. I think that's fair. And we'll put it this way: if my last ranked movie on your filmography is a 7 out of 10, you did something right in your career.
John.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Let's see. I have a hard time getting into Sam Jackson if I don't hear him say "motherfucker." Okay. I've never been to Hollywood, but Tarantino painted a portrait of a place and a time that made me made it feel recognizable. He made me love it with him. I can see that. Tarantino is a master of character building, even little things like Cliff Bluth's relationship with his dog. It seems minor or trivial, but pays dividends during the climax. And hey, who better than to know that than Matt Landrum and Fulci right there in the pro pick? A man and his dog, man's best friend. I totally agree, Matteo. Once Upon a Time, Hollywood does feel like an homage to the 1960s. I swear I think Sam Jackson has turned the words mother effer into an art form. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but the same year this movie came out, there was a movie called The Haunting of Sharon Tate. I couldn't get through it. I turned it off.
I'm not familiar with it.
It was, please don't watch it. It's terrible. It really is terrible.
Like unwatchable for the violence, or just don't watch it, bore out of your mind?
Really poor acting, really poor filmmaking. It stars, I believe it stars, no, that was the... So the director, Dan Farrens, he also did the Mina Suvari lead of O.J. Simpson's wife. It was the same thing. It was like The Haunting of Her. I forget the character, the woman's name in real life. But they did that and this, and it was like they're the same movie. I think it's Hilary Duff or somebody like that was Sharon Tate. It was fucking horrible. Honestly, it's unwatchable. It's really, really bad. Exactly. It was a love letter to Hollywood, but also cinema. Yes, that, and I appreciate that. Like, I love the Italian poster. I would put up a Rick Dalton movie poster in my basement.
And let's say that he has posters of his movie in front of his parking spot, man. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Me too. I thought that was a nice touch. 1969 was a big year for movies. One of the most controversial movies ever made, Easy Rider, which we actually did talk about a couple of weeks ago on the Graveyard when we did the Jack Nicholson show. Man, Basketball Diaries, This Boy's Life. He did some good stuff in his youth too. I agree that he's matured quite a bit. I enjoy his work more now. I've always been a huge fan, but I get Matteo where he's coming from, where it was like, oh, this pretty boy, you know, like I could totally, I've been there with certain people for sure. So I get that. If you guys ever, the 1980s, Less Than Zero, Brad Pitt had a very small credited role. I know he's in Cutting Class, which is a fun slasher movie from the 80s.
The first time that I saw Brad Pitt, there's two movies that I was like, this guy looks, has good potential. One was Thelma and Louise, and the other one was California with the K.
Okay. I'm trying to think the first movie I saw him in. I can't remember. Probably Fight Club. That might have been the first movie I saw. Seven. That's right. You're right. It would be Seven. I saw Seven first.
And by the way, Soderbergh is another generation of Tarantino, and like we're talking Wes Anderson, J.J. Abrams, you know, old Singer, all this stuff.
Sure. Yeah. No. And Soderbergh, I think he has a movie out right now, the Presence movie. Always thought it was you're talking about what Mama Cass died on, and was it a ham sandwich, or maybe it was?
You know, rumors they always change.
Chicken, ham. It was some sort of. Speaking of Bruce Lee, if you guys have ever seen Enter the Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, it has an appearance by Van Williams, who played the main character. Oh, cool. Okay. According to Google, Mama Cass Elliot didn't die from choking on a ham sandwich. She died from a heart attack in her sleep. May she rest in peace.
Maybe before going to sleep, she had a chicken wing. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I guess you mean in Pulp Fiction about Amanda Plummer. I like when she fucking has to say she has to take a piss at the end. Like, she gets so freaked out. She goes, I gotta go potty. I always thought that was so random. Like, what should Tarantino and Pacino do again? I don't know. Supposedly the ham sandwich myth was created by her manager and journalist to protect Mama Cass's legacy. It's really interesting. See, I would think that would hurt her fucking legacy. I don't know.
I want to say something though. I really love about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There is one thing that really, I was like, yeah, it's a scene of The Great Escape with DiCaprio instead of Steve McQueen, but it's the same movie and it's shot with him in it.
Yeah, they inserted him in.
Incredible. That was a great like hidden gem. And also the flashback of the movie, the 14th feast of what was it? The one that he uses the it's like
basically the Inglourious Basterds, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And the 14th Reich of something. It's something like that.
Or something like that. Yeah.
It's like an homage to his whole career. There's Bastard reference, Death Proof.
Yes.
I think Tarantino wanted to tell a story where Tate was more than just a victim, which is what she's remembered for. I think he just wanted to show her in a different light, like an see, like I would be all for that if she had something to do. Like I don't really get a sense of who the hell she was in this movie. That's just me though. Like I wanted more from her. I guess that's
to answer to Matt. If you wanted to do that, then she had to do the same with Folger. She had to do the same with all the people that have been murdered in the Cielo Drive, house.
And that would have been tough to do,
right? So if you
she was the daughter of the coffee.
Yes. She, her boyfriend, and then Sirjik and her, like 5 people at the end that died in.
The Emil Hirsch character, he got it the worst from what I've read. That's a horror story. Tate is just another piece of Hollywood love letter. Okay, a lot of scenes where Cliff is driving were shot to mimic his perspective as a child in the car with his dad.
That one I didn't know, but
I didn't know that either. I didn't pick up on that.
There is a lot of car scenes, though. There is a lot of those. Yeah.
Matteo, how do you feel about Fulci's four of the apocalypse?
Fulci lives, first of all. He never died. He's just in desert island with JFK and Marilyn Monroe and Michael Jackson. But not okay. It's okay, but it's not as good as other masterpiece of the maestro.
Yeah, no, I think you two would be good buddies because you guys definitely have.
I think me and Matt, we can talk about Italian horror cinema for hours. So I think
I know. Yeah, like when I met him, and then I had him on the show, and then you reached out. You were like, "Landrum is my fucking guy." Like, I was like, "Dude, yeah."
One person that talks about Argento, talks about Fulci, and you also talk about. I think you talk about Deodato as well in the same night. I'm like, wow, man. You don't have an Italian last name, but if you want to join the community, man, you're one of us.
I think Landrum's a Canadian guy. Maybe I imagine you guys are next door neighbors or something like that. Would be amazing. Linda Lou checks in. Hi, Grande. I really like Once Upon a Time. Awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Speaking of Cass Elliot, did you know the actress Mackenzie Phillips is the daughter of John Phillips from The Mamas and the Papas? I didn't know that. That is okay. Another I guess fun fact for this movie. Yeah, coming full circle with this, man. I mean, of these 3 movies, I think Bastards is the standout, and then very shortly followed by Dogs. Those are my top 2. So it just kind of worked out that way. When you picked Bastards, I went, oh great, now I can pick my second favorite. So I picked this. And then it was fun to rewatch Hollywood, and give it another shot. And I definitely, while it fell down a list a bit for me, it made for a good discussion. It's definitely an interesting, because it seems to be a very polarizing Tarantino film. It's very much top or towards the bottom.
Yeah, it's like maybe depending on the people's state of mind while you're watching it or your experience. Maybe from some people give some kind of feelings, to other give another one. But to wrap it up, John, I want to ask you a question. What do you think it's, or if you want, we can keep going, but I'm just saying, afterward, what do you think it's, we have to expect from Quentin in the future?
That is the $64,000 question, my friend. I mean, I'm with you. I would want to see him do a straight up horror movie. That would be my dream, because that's my favorite genre. Granted, if Death Proof, the first half of it, which I do see as like a slasher exploitation movie that, I guess, a horse of a different color, but it's definitely along those lines. If that's all we ever get from a horror standpoint from him, I'm satisfied with it, because the first half of Death Proof is my favorite of the movie, and the second half is whatever. That's when it becomes like a car race and Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, whatever the fuck. I want to see a horror picture, but as far as what do I think he's going to do, I think it's going to be something else very much along the lines of this. Like, I do think it's going to be another era or another time that he really wants to touch or tackle. And I think that's what he's going to go for. It may even be mid-70s, because I know he's a big mid-70s cinema guy. But I do think it'll be another tribute to cinema in some way, shape, or form. That would be my prediction. But how about you? What is your prediction?
So I really hope there's going to be a horror, because I know his influences. There's a lot of Italian influences in Quentin Tarantino. So I can see that, he can go Fulci, he can go Argento, he can go... I would love, personally, John, you know me. I would love if the last movie of Quentin would be a giallo. That would be, you know, my dream. Like yours would be a horror. I would love that. You know, I know the giallos are dead on arrival. We know that, but like maybe he can do a miracle. Who knows?
Well, so in that way, so are spaghetti westerns. So are these kind of movies, love letters, and he always seems to bring those back to life and bring so much energy and joy and excitement in them that it brings them back to life. And I know he was a big fan of The Sidekick. Speaking of Fulci, he always wanted to remake The Sidekick, which, holy shit, I mean, I would be all for that. But a giallo directed by Tarantino,
I'll camp in front of the theater though. With that, no. I'm there. Just, but if you ask me, John, Matteo, where would you put your $5? I think he's going to end with a sci-fi. So I think he's gonna go sci-fi. He never went that route, and I think there's gonna. We're just fantasy island, okay? But I think he's going to go. We're talking homage, right? So I will not be surprised if we see something inspired by 2001: The Space Odyssey.
Wow. I didn't expect you to say that. That is really, and you know, I would say, and I said this too, that Hollywood and Space Odyssey, in a way, they both kind of abandon that narrative structure, right? And like, it's similar. There's some people who tell you Space Odyssey is the best Kubrick. There's some people who tell you that's the Kubrick movie that doesn't hit for me. You know, like I see similarities there, but like sci-fi Tarantino would be very. You're right. He's never touched it. And I know they were conversations at least to do the Star Trek, right? At a time, he was going to. Yeah, that was he wanted to do Star Trek, I believe, the 2009 Star Trek. That's what he wanted to do. And of course, you know, I guess they couldn't make out a deal or whatever the hell. And he goes to make Bastards instead, which I'm very happy for that. But I would be all for that, man. A sci-fi Tarantino movie.
You know, it would be a great time to do something like, instead of Al, do something with AI, because man, it's taking over big time. So thinking about that is, you know, a dystopian future instead of a dystopian past, that would be great. So I hope, but you know, or horror or sci-fi, if you finish up with a rom-com, I'm going home, man. I'm like, that's
what about this? A little counter question here.
Yeah.
What if this is the end? What if
I was going to ask you the same thing? You know what? I was going to ask you the same thing. What if there's no future? I don't know, man. I hope so. One of the best directors of my generation. I still hope that Argento does another movie and he's like 103. So why Quentin Tarantino? That is, I think, from 1963. So he's like 50 something. Come on, man.
62.
Yeah, 62. So come on, man. 62. Go. Let's go out with a bang. Come on.
I of course I hope for it too, especially since this last one was a little, I would say the last three are like, even though I like Hateful Eight a lot, but Django towards the bottom for me too. So it's interesting. It's like, I don't know, since Bastards, I feel like he's yet to reach that pinnacle again, but who knows? Maybe the last one goes out with a bang, and it's like, I don't want this to be the end either. But like, I do think there are people that would say this, and here you go. You would think I paid him to say it, but yeah. I could totally see people saying this is the swan song, and I'm fine with that. I think a lot of people feel that way. I'm glad you're with me, and I think everybody, of course, does want another one, but I think a lot of people would be satisfied if this was the end. And I just am not there.
If we live without hope, John, we're doomed. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
so,
what are hopes for? Don't get your hopes up. What the fuck are hopes for?
Exactly. Let's hope, man, that it's happening.
We can hope. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to comments, and then we will hit the road here. Where the heck were we? I think we were here. Matteo is my new brother in Fulci. Awesome show as always. Only. Thank you so much. Pulp Fiction, amazing. Absolutely. And yes, Fulci lives. Absolutely. Straight horror from Quentin would be amazing. Yeah, that's what I want. That's totally what I want. But I'll settle for a giallo or sci-fi too. That sounds fun. Tarantino's a big fan of The Sidekick. Would love something similar from him. Yeah, I would be all for that. He talked about that for a long time. So what a curveball that would be. I want to see his eyes wide shut. Would you be for that, Matteo?
Well, depend. Boom, 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 boom. I'm thinking. This is a. You know what? I'll stick still with my two sci-fi and horror, but Alpha has a good point.
And here's the thing. I don't think he would hold back at all if he did movies like Eyes Wide Shut. It would be, and from someone who worked with people like the Weinsteins, which he did for quite some time. Holy shit!
Like, but if I remember correctly, from a live that I watched with Alpha, Eyes Wide Shut, but without the Illuminati.
Alpha. That's when Alpha went a little bit tinfoil hat on me. Yes. He was like, "Oh, adrenochrome," and we were all like, "What?"
That one. Everybody knows adrenochrome. Come on.
That's right. Oh my God, that was funny. Glad you guys did Tarantino. Great show. Holy night loves. Thank you so much, Brittany. Everybody, thank you so much. And of course, thanks to my wonderful guest, the legendary Matteo Appendino. Dude, you're always more than welcome to come back on here. I like these director pick a 3 pack from them. I think this is something that'd be fun to keep doing, for sure.
When you call, it's an honor to be here. The graveyard is always a place to be, even if you're alive.
Absolutely. I will drink to that, my friend. Adrenodrones. Yes, absolutely. But everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the chat. Next week, we'll do my vampire special finally, the one that got pushed back because of the flu. Sorry about that. But next week, vampires on Grande's Graveyard as we kick off February. And we start counting down to episode number 300 of Grande's Graveyard, which will be in late March, which I'm very looking forward to that. Be a big triple giveaway there, and a bunch of fun prizes and stuff like that. But to everybody who's watching the replay, comment down below. Let us know your favorite Quentin Tarantino movies. Rank them. Let us know what you think of the 3 we discussed, whatever you want to say. But for everybody that's watching, I hope you have a safe, happy, healthy weekend, and we will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Too sweet peace. Ciao, everybody.